Death is not waiting at the end. It is happening constantly. Fear is biological, but suffering is psychological. Death is not a glitch in the system. It is nature making room for the next version of the software. The same chemistry that sustains life gradually weakens it. You were stardust temporarily arranged as a human. When I was 14 years old, I watched my grandmother die in front of me. Entropy is the debt collector of the universe. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dear viewers, welcome back to our channel. Today, we conclude our journey through the fifth shloka of the second Brahmana in the first chapter of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Before we begin, I recommend watching our earlier parts, How Life Began on Earth, Evolution of Life, and Evolution of Human Civilization. Before those, we also covered the origin of the universe, the formation of the solar system, and an introduction to the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Links are in the description and top right corner of the screen. A quick recap. In part 1, we explained how life began on Earth. Simple, single-celled organisms evolving over billions of years into today's biodiversity. In part 2, we explored the mechanisms of evolution, from RNA molecules to millions of species. In part 3, we traced human civilization, from jungle survival to language, music, religion, and artificial intelligence. Now one question remains. How far will we go? I don't know, but I believe we'll discover more secrets of nature, space, and life. Our civilization may one day build colonies beyond Earth, and yet there is no end to this tunnel. The deeper we look, the more puzzles appear. It is like a game. Nature reveals some secrets and hides others. One of those secrets, perhaps the most intimate, is death. The Rishi declared, whatever he created forth, he resolved to consume. Verily, because he eats everything, he, death, is called Aditi. Creation and consumption are not opposites. They are partners. Life is a temporary loan from the universe. Death is the universe collecting its debt. Today, let us remove myth and fear. Let us look at death clearly, scientifically, and honestly. Biology, the micro level. Your body contains trillions of cells. Right now, billions are dying. Death is not waiting at the end. It is happening constantly. Why do cells die? Because built-in genetic mechanisms prevent them from dividing indefinitely. Most human somatic cells can divide only 40 to 60 times. This is called the Hayflick limit. However, stem cells and germ cells can divide far more because they carry an active enzyme called telomeres. At the ends of chromosomes are structures called telomeres. Every time a cell divides, telomeres shorten. Eventually, they become too short. The cell stops dividing. This is not an accident. This is designed by evolution. If cells divided endlessly, damaged DNA would accumulate. Uncontrolled growth would cause widespread mutations and cancer, and the organisms would collapse. There is also a process called programmed cell death, apoptosis. Cells sacrifice themselves so the body can survive. Death at the microscopic level makes life possible. And here is something deeper. Evolution is a minimalist architect. Once you have passed on your genes, your body becomes biologically expensive to maintain. Nature prioritizes reproduction, not immortality. Death is not a glitch in the system. It is nature making room for the next version of the software. Cancer, the illusion of immortality. Cancer cells attempt to escape division limits. They repair their telomeres. They avoid programmed death. They multiply endlessly. They appear immortal, but they destroy the system that sustains them. And eventually, they die when the host dies. Even rebellion cannot escape entropy. Trees and long life. Some trees live thousands of years. Their stem cells continue dividing, but individual plant cells still die. Leaves fall, roots decay, bark sheds. Even the longest living tree eventually falls. Longevity is not immortality. Medicine, the system level. In medicine, we distinguish between two stages of death. Clinical death is when the heart stops. This can sometimes be reversed through CPR or defibrillation, but only if the brain has not yet been damaged. Biological death, also called brain death, is when brain cells irreversibly stop functioning. This is the true point of no return. CPR can reverse clinical death. It cannot reverse biological death. Why the brain? Because it coordinates everything. If oxygen stops flowing, brain damage begins within 4 to 6 minutes. Without the brain's electrical coordination, the body becomes hardware without software. The system collapses. Death is not mystical. It is systematic failure. Chemistry, the energy factory. Your cells generate energy through chemical reactions. In mitochondria, they convert glucose and oxygen into ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the fuel that powers every thought, every movement, every heartbeat. But there is a cost. Every time you think, move, or breathe, you pay a heat tax to the universe. That tax is entropy. Energy conversion produces free radicals, unstable molecules that damage DNA, lipids, and proteins slowly over time. The same chemistry that sustains life gradually weakens it. Your thoughts are electrochemical events. That electricity is born from chemistry, sodium and potassium ions moving across cell membranes. When cellular energy production fails, neural signaling stops and consciousness ceases. Life depends on chemical balance. Blood pH must remain stable. Potassium levels must remain controlled. Oxygen must flow continuously. Life is controlled chemistry. Death is chemical imbalance beyond repair. And here is something powerful. The iron in your blood was forged in the heart of a dying star. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are stardust temporarily arranged as a human. You are not dying. You are returning borrowed stardust to the cosmic factory. Physics, the universal law. The second law of thermodynamics states systems move from order to disorder. This is entropy. Entropy is the debt collector of the universe. Life creates temporary order. Cells, organs, bodies, species, societies, cities, civilizations. But only by exporting disorder elsewhere. We eat food which stores energy from the sun. The sun burns hydrogen. One day, it will expand into a red giant. It may consume the earth. Life here will end, not because it is punishment, but because energy conditions change. Before life existed, the universe was mostly non-living matter. After life ends, it may return to that state. By that time, if our technology advances enough, we may delay our end and spread beyond this solar system. But how long can we outrun entropy? The future will say. Life is not the default state of the universe. Disorder is. Life is a temporary organized pattern, resisting entropy for a while. Then the question arises, what about the universe itself? Some scientists propose heat death, a gradual fading into cold, uniform silence. Others propose a big crunch, where expansion reverses and everything collapses back into a singularity. Still, others explore models like the Big Bounce or eternal inflation, where the universe cycles rather than ends definitively. The universe began as a singularity. It might end as one. In the end, the Great Eater doesn't just consume us, it consumes stars, light, and perhaps even time. Why we fear death? Fear of death is evolutionary. Organisms that fear danger survived longer and reproduced more. That fear is wired into us. Your ego attaches to the body. When the body is threatened, fear appears. The ego panics. Fear is biological, but suffering is psychological. Suffering, the human layer. Death may be natural, but suffering feels unbearable. Let me share something personal. When I was 14 years old, I watched my grandmother die in front of me. She was struggling on a hospital bed. My father was chanting from the Bhagavad Gita. Then suddenly, silence. No breath, no movement. The body was there, but something was gone. We brought her home. Everyone was crying. Some were shouting, some were broken. I was observing, not because I did not grieve, but because my mind, even in that moment, was asking, what exactly ended? Later, I saw her body turn to ashes, and within days, life continued. People returned to their work. The world did not stop. That day, I understood something important. Death causes pain, but suffering comes from attachment. Why do we suffer? We suffer because we lose companionship. We lose shared memories. We lose imagined futures. Grief is the collapse of expectation. We build a picture of tomorrow with that person. When that picture disappears, pain appears. Suffering is resistance to reality. Love is natural. Attachment is natural. But attachment mixed with the illusion of permanence creates deep suffering. What about other animals? Animals also lose their companions. Birds lose their young. Elephants have been observed showing signs of grief, but they do not build narratives. They do not ask, why me? Their pain is immediate. A deer may pause in silence. Then it returns to grazing. It doesn't argue with nature. This doesn't make us superior. It makes us mentally complex. Awareness can free us or trap us. We invented stories of Judgment Day, afterlife, heaven, and hell, not because they are true, but because we feared silence. Look at a forest. Its silence is not empty, it is full of transformation. Death is not a destination, it is a change of state. Untimely death, karma, sin, and God's punishment. Many times we witness deaths that are harder to accept. A young person gone too soon, an accident, a suicide, a murder. People feel deep pity. They question, is this the age to go? And very quickly, explanations arrive. Bad karma, a sin committed in this birth or a previous one. God's punishment, bad time, misfortune, unfavorable position of planets, a curse. These are not answers. These are stories we tell ourselves because the silence of death is too uncomfortable to sit with. I understand. Some deaths are truly difficult to explain. especially when the emotional bond was deep and that person's absence feels impossible to feel. But if you can pause for a moment, keeping your feelings aside just briefly, you will see something clearly. We are not special in this vast universe. We may be biased, death is not. The fate is the same for all living beings. If you survive, you are the winner. If you don't, evolution is. It is no one's karma or sin, not at all a curse. Planet positions are uniform for all, and luck is just a coincidence. In the space-time, you and that incident happen to occupy the same position. Neither does God have the time or interest to set up a costly judiciary to punish anyone. These are concepts built over centuries and later hardened into popular belief. And think about it practically. If you could control someone's death, you would surely save them, but you cannot. So why carry the weight of guilt or divine judgment? Your emotions are real, your pain is real, but suffering can be reduced only through awareness. Can suffering be reduced? We should not stop loving, but we can love with awareness. When we accept impermanence, we become more present. We forgive faster. We appreciate more. Pain may come, but prolonged suffering reduces when resistance reduces. The ego and the dream. Have you ever seen a dream where you died? Probably not. You always manage to escape at the last moment. Do you know why? Because our ego identifies with the body, and that ego resists its own disappearance. Perhaps the ego only truly dissolves with the body. Hence, the brain cannot simulate non-experience. However, some people do report dying or disembodied perspectives in dreams. But consciousness typically shifts to another scene before reaching that final silence. But here is a hack. If you begin to understand and slowly experience that you are more than this body, then your relationship with death changes. Relate your ego not to this temporary body, but to the whole universe, to the ground of being itself. Then death becomes not an ending, but a transition. Your fear of death dies at that moment, and you begin to live more fully. My advice to you is simple. This birth is the only one you have. You got it accidentally, not as a reward, not as a punishment, just as a rare cosmic coincidence. Do not waste it. Live fully and with awareness. If you can find a purpose, your life will feel more meaningful. If you cannot find one right now, do not worry. Even the most meaningful lives are temporary in this universe. What matters is that you were here. that you were aware, that you lived. Final return to the Rishi. The Upanishad calls death Aditi, the infinite consumer. Not because it is cruel, but because it is universal. Without death, evolution stops, renewal stops, growth stops, resources are never released, new life cannot emerge. Death is not built into life as punishment, it is built into life as purpose. The Rishi said, Verily, because he eats everything, he is called Aditi. This is not mythology. This is physics. This is biology. This is chemistry. Final reflection. Before you were born, the universe existed. After you die, it continues. Your atoms are ancient. Nothing truly disappears. Everything transforms. Immortality is not endless body survival. It is clarity. The kind that comes when you stop identifying only with the wave and begin to recognize you are the ocean. The wave doesn't die when it reaches the shore. It remembers what it always was. This episode isn't about the end of life. It is about the end of the illusion of separation. Mrityor Amritam Gamaya. From death lead me to immortality. Om Shantihi, Shantihi, Shantihi. Thank you for joining us in this journey of universal Vedanta. If this episode touched something in you, please share it with someone who needs it. Like the video, subscribe to our channel, press the bell icon so you never miss a session. Share your thoughts and questions in the comments. I read every one of them. Follow us on WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and X. Links and QR codes are on the screen. Have a great day and see you in the next video.